Democrats are backing a bill that would prevent a court from considering whether a woman is pregnant when granting a divorce. Missouri is one of 17 states considered no-fault divorce states. That means it does not require spouses to report reasons for filing for a divorce besides irreconcilable differences. The new bill is in response to a state requirement that considers pregnancy status, all in a petition for legal separation. If passed, the policy would prevent the government from considering pregnancy status when ruling on whether to dissolve a marriage.
It was brought to my attention that in a domestic violence situation, this could be an extremely difficult time for a person, and the need to get divorced right away is often the case for some folks. So I've offered this bill. I think we had a great conversation in committee last night, and I look forward to seeing it move.
Now, during a committee hearing this week, more than a dozen witnesses spoke out in favor of the policy. None publicly opposed it.